With the crisis in Venezuela expanding, people have begun to joke about the latest Venezuelan trend, the Maduro diet. 75% of the population lost 19 pounds in 2016. Take that, Atkins. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. A little bit of dark humor for you. This is a very serious topic, of course, where you have mass starvation at this time. Here is Maduro. I'm sure he's not just eating bananas. Some individuals out there are unable to get the food that they need. And then you look at the percentages, and it is absolutely shocking. This is an article out of the Wall Street Journal. We'll focus for a moment at the bottom portion here. Roughly 20% of children under 5 are suffering from malnutrition, and many of the children are dying in hospitals which don't have food, medicine, or vitamins. And there's little hope that the situation will improve without some change. 90% of Venezuelans can't afford the food they need. Think about that for a second. Basically, everybody can't afford to get the food they need. 1/3 are surviving on just 2 meals a day, which they've dubbed the Maduro diet, after the country's socialist president. And I've heard many people are actually surviving on 1 meal a day in most cases. I mean, it's terrible to think about this. And this article here actually says that people have begun to padlock their refrigerators. That's how bad things have become. Venezuela's Living Conditions Survey found that nearly 75% of the population lost an average of at least 19 pounds in 2016 due to the lack of proper nutrition amid an economic crisis. Think about that. To lose 19 pounds, not because they're on some sort of diet or they're getting healthier and this and that, it's literally because they can't eat enough food. And this is an epidemic going on right now, not just in Venezuela, other places, of course. Okay, very quickly, I want to move on to many different things. What we're talking about here is everyone's favorite Al Gore. He wants $15 trillion to come from carbon taxes. He says he wants to bankrupt coal immediately, as if it already isn't suffering, and then allowing other energies like natural gas to continue on for a little while. And it just goes into what their plans are about all these different agreements that they've signed and everything else, and talks about how serious the situation is. And the solution to it all doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter if you believe in climate change, global warming, global cooling, polar vortex, whatever it is. Why are people forced to pay a tax on their carbon footprint, and then that money basically gets funneled back into their hands of these globalist elite? Does that make any sense? I'm all for renewable energy. I think it's great. I think it is absolutely great. But you shouldn't just cut off coal, for example, when a lot of the places in the developed nations use what they refer to as clean coal. And it's not exactly what was around 100 years ago. But of course, nobody cares about that. It's all about taxes, and then you use celebrities to push these agendas, and people fall for it. Nations around the world have adopted more than 1,200 laws to curb climate change, up from about 60 2 decades ago. Imagine that, 1,200 laws. 1,200 times governments have sat down and said, we need to help this earth, and we will implement a law to do so. And that's the silliness of all this. It isn't going to solve anything. Pumping more money, pumping more bureaucracy into this isn't going to change it. But of course, we know that. 8,000 Colorado inmates have free computer tablets, but cost of text calls and streaming media adds up. So basically, these individuals are in jail, but they get to use these tablets, and they are then charged for usage. And the people are saying, it's great because I can have some peace of mind here and this and that. But I just found it interesting that they're being charged for it. I don't think they should necessarily have it at all. But the fact that they're being charged for it, and that's the real reason why they are able to do this, because they can make profit from them. And they use them essentially at slave labor, paying them pennies to do all sorts of work in the private prisons. We've seen this before. A money-making scam around every corner. You saw the article that I covered recently about the US and Canadian lumber issue there. Canada struck back at the United States over a lumber dispute, threatening to ban shipments of US thermal coal from Pacific ports and suggesting sanctions against products from Oregon. So this is fanning the flames of what's happening right now. And I would say that this could easily escalate beyond where it really needs to. There doesn't need to be all of these battles back and forth. You need to just sit down, have a respectable conversation. I think, however, countries should purchase from their own country first. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. But again, I'm not a politician. The solid April jobs report settles the debate over whether there will be another interest rate hike from the Fed in June. And of course, here we are. The report virtually cements the odds of a June rate hike. Something dramatic has to happen to persuade the Fed not to move. So again, all of the economists are predicting that there will be a rate rise in June. We are coming very close to that time now. I don't know if it will happen, but judging by the fact that the stock market has moved up, I would say they can expect another little notch upward. Certainly could happen. I'm not predicting it necessarily, but that's probably the way it will go. And they've barely budged their way up. I mean, at the most, we can see up to a 1.25% on the Fed funds rate. I believe it's still insignificant historically, but it does show you that they are increasing rates. If they do so at a drastic level, I don't think this is going to be very good at all. I think it will crash the economy. It will result in foreclosures widespread. I don't know how far they're able to go without it causing that. Billionaire Bitcoin enthusiast Tim Draper is backing a new cryptocurrency for the first time. So there are many cryptocurrencies out there. New ones are popping up all the time. And many people, I believe, are trying to get onto the bandwagon. And this happens to be one individual who's putting his money where his mouth is. The initial coin offering, getting in here and trying to basically boost up the value of it. I've done videos about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies before. I'll just quickly say that I believe that their value is to some degree their ability to transact between two people on a much more secure means than what we have right now in the digital world, where people's credit cards are compromised daily. I think that this is a better way to transact. I don't think that people should be putting all their savings into it. I think that could be a mistake. I don't agree with anything, including gold and silver or real estate or anything. I think we should be spreading our assets as wide as we can. Now, if you want to have some money in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, absolutely. I think you should do that. I think you should make your own decisions. Don't go based on what you think the value will be at a certain point in time. If you thought, okay, by the year 2020, the price is going to be this, therefore I should put my money in. We don't know what's going to happen. But if you think it's a good investment, if you want to be able to use it just to transact, so you just want to put just a small amount in there and use it for transactions, then by all means do that. You just need to understand the risks. Obama talks about himself 216 times during a $3 million Italy speech. The guy got paid $3 million to talk about himself for 100 minutes. I mean, this is the type of thing that people value the opinion of certain individuals when they have nothing of significance to say, when they read off of teleprompters, and yet making $3 million in an hour and a half of talking. Good for him. It just shows you, though, what people really want to hear. In an effort to preserve decorum and traditions in the romantic canal city of Venice, local authorities have banned new kebab shops and other fast food outlets from opening. So I think this is interesting. It's not the first time this has happened. In fact, you see in other areas, I don't think it's on this, you have to scroll down for that, but other areas in Italy have done the same thing. And they've tried to basically say, look, with all the immigration that's happening, we don't want Italy to be a different place. And they're putting their foot down on that. I think it's very interesting because you see on one hand where they're actually bringing in boatloads in secret of the refugees. At the same time, you have the local cities, local areas, regions that are saying, we want our culture to stay the way it is. So there's a battle going on right here. And I believe at the local levels, you're seeing a lot more restraint. But on the federal levels, no matter where you're looking, on national levels, you're seeing a much different situation. Anyway, I thought I would mention that. There's a whole wide variety of information here today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS and Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. Head over to Amazon. They have a look inside feature that will allow you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like them. Take care. It is far past my bedtime. Good night.